We are live. We are live. Maybe we can do it.
And we are live. Yes, we are. Good evening, everyone.
Hey.
Gav,
Hello.
David, KnownOrigin. Hello. How you guys doing?
Hi.
So great to see you.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome. Well, as tradition, I will let David give us a quick introduction about Behind the Screens series and tell us a few words about KnownOrigin.
Let's do it. So hi, I'm David, one of the co-founders of KnownOrigin. For those who don't know, I kind of go through this every time, but it's nice to do it. So KnownOrigin is a digital arts platform built on the Ethereum blockchain, and we discover emerging artists and have established artists on the platform who can showcase and sell verified limited edition digital artworks. I'm super excited for the series that we're doing in partnership with MoCDA, which is Behind the Screens, and it allows us to kind of get to know the artist a bit more, find out what their kind of practices are, their processes, their inspirations. And we have with us tonight a good friend of mine and someone that I've admired for a hell of a long time, Gavin Strange, aka JamFactory. I've known of Gavin for a very long time. I've known him from his early days at Aardman Studios, and he did a cool thing a couple of years ago called Grommet Unleashed, which kind of like blew everyone's minds. And Gavin's been one of those people that's kind of just had this constant awesomeness about him throughout kind of my career, and he's always kind of been the guy that something cool would come out, like an ident or a video loop, and it turns out it's kind of always Gavin that's producing it. And I've always wanted to work with Gavin, and KnownOrigin has given me that opportunity to not only get to know him way better and get to see some more of his experimental pieces and some like cool stuff he's doing in the crypto art scene. So I will let Serena and Gavin do the talking. I will shoot off and tweet any kind of links out there. And if you have any questions, please tweet on KnownOrigin_.io or hit us up on the YouTube, and I'll try and relay them back to guys. But let me go, let you guys get going. Enough of me, right? Have fun, Gavin. Have fun, Serena. Speak soon.
Thank you so much, David.
Yeah, that was an amazing intro. That's the best intro I've ever had in the world. Thank
right?
You, mate.
Yeah.
A little spin for you. Hang on.
Awesome.
Thanks.
That deserved a double spin. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, David. We'll see you on the chat. See you soon.
Thanks, mate. That was such a nice intro, wasn't it? Oh, David, that's so
right.
kind.
Yeah. You can go now.
Special. Yeah, I know. That's it now. My ego is full. I'm done. Bye.
Well, it's such a pleasure to have you here tonight, Gav. Can I call you Gav or Gavin?
Call me whatever you want. Yeah. Whatever. Only my mum calls me Gavin, so Gav is absolutely fine.
Super. Yeah. So and welcome everybody watching live. I know there's already quite a few of you. So welcome everyone, and feel free to send through your questions, thoughts. This is going to be a really fun and engaging conversation. I have quite a few questions for you, but I would love for you to start giving us a short intro about who you are, where you're streaming from. Tell us all about it.
Awesome. So hello, everyone. My name is Gavin Strange. First of all, massive shout out to everyone in the chat. I've seen messages pop up. Signal Noise, Slame, Brendan, Sam. It's lovely to have people here. So thank you for tuning in. So my name is Gavin Strange. I'm a director and a designer for Aardman Animations, a creative studio in Bristol, and I've worked there for 12 years. And I also go under the alias of JamFactory, which is an alias that I've had since I got into the creative industry over 20 years ago. I got my first job when I was 17 years old, and I didn't go to university. I got into the industry through beginning as a graphic designer. And then basically through my career, I've used JamFactory as a platform for experimenting and just basically trying all the stuff that people didn't pay me to do. So I've always had a day job, and in the early days that was digital design, that was web design. So back in the days of HTML and CSS and building and designing websites. But I always just felt like I was more than what my title was. You know, I didn't want the label as a web designer back in the day. I just wanted to be a designer. And even then I kind of didn't want to just be a designer. I wanted to do more, but I basically found that having a day job gave me the security and the freedom to try these different avenues in my own time, whether that was character design or photography or filmmaking. And then basically that sort of career path has followed me through for 20 plus years. And that is how I'm now a director and a designer at Aardman, because I was doing graphic design and sort of digital design, but I was also doing a lot of films in my own time. And over the years, those films became supported and encouraged by Aardman as they got bigger and bigger. And then, you know, through being there, I got the support and the mentorship, and then that's how my job shifted to being a director as well as a designer. So, you know, I always sing the praises of passion projects because they can take you places that you never thought of. And so that's kind of what I do. I feel like I can almost be two people. I'm at Aardman during the day, and then at night I experiment and play and kind of create lots of different things under the name of JamFactory. So that's what I do.
Wow, fantastic. And how did it feel for you to balance these two things out, you know, having a day life and a night life, you know, going more into the art and doing something that it wasn't like just web designing, but it was actually you creating some stuff?
I've always loved it.
Because I think there's a lot of people out there, you know, in the same position, you know, that's kind of how I started as well. So I would love for you to share a few words about balancing the two aspects of that, you know.
I think balance is the best word, and it's something that you have to get wrong, know what you need to do right, I think. And in the early days, I was always getting it wrong. I was working way too much. I had no separation between day and night and passion project and client project, and it all blended and blurred into each other. But I feel like if I had to do it all over again, I would, because that's how you know kind of where the edges are, where you're feeling burnt out, where you're not being your best creative self. And it was actually then taking a full-time job that I really like that. I really like the structure of a full-time job. Of I don't have to worry, you know, the money comes with that as well. It's solid, and that lets me in my own time just be a little bit more free. And because, you know, those hours are set, I have a routine. I, you know, work Monday to Friday, you know, 8:30 till 5. I have that. So it's up to me how and what I do then to get the balance into the evening, to do my own stuff as well. And what I'm really conscious of is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't work. I spend time with my wife and my family. And my wife is a jewelry designer and maker, and she works for herself, so she works in the evenings too. So we have this really great relationship where we understand why you would want to start working at 9 o'clock at night, you know, why you would start doing stuff in the evening hours. And so she works Monday to Thursday as well. So it, you know, because we've got that connection and that balance, it's really healthy for both of us.
Wow, that's amazing how you can manage to do so many things, and, you know, and you're so talented. And I also discovered that you're a dad as well. So, you know, it's kind of like, wow.
Well, I mean, I do lots of things. I don't know if I do any of them well, but I do try, and I just get a thrill out of it as well. You know, there's so many interesting, fun things to do, platforms, techniques, disciplines. You know, this is why we're talking today, you know, with the whole crypto art scene. You know, me and James Signal Noise in the chat, you know, followed the word of Brendan Dawes, a good friend of ours, because it was this strange, intriguing new world. And then all of a sudden, you know, when you kind of get that fuzzy feeling in your tummy of oh, this is cool, this is interesting, this is exciting, you know, that's your fuel, that's the catalyst to make you do more and to go further. So I think I just try and tune in to to those feelings and go, okay, that's making your heart sing, and that's, you're excited. So let yourself get excited and sort of stay awake a bit longer and make things happen. So, but it is a balancing act. I was just saying to you, Serena and David, 5 minutes before we went live, my son, who's a toddler, did not want to go to sleep, and the realities of life are very real, as they are for everyone, right? So you have to balance being a regular functioning human as well, which I think that's the hardest bit, really.
Yeah. But yeah, that's wonderful advice, finding that balance and tuning in with what you want to do, with what you love, with what makes your heartbeat going, and follow on that passion, follow it through. And and then you discovered crypto and KnownOrigin. And was that Brendan telling you about this crazy world, or how did that go?
Well, it was, like I say, I've known David for years, and I've known that he created KnownOrigin. We've just been online friends for a very long time, and and I'm sure James won't mind this saying this, but we were both we just didn't understand it. We just didn't understand what the world of crypto was. We just didn't. We would have little WhatsApp conversations all the time, and we just didn't understand. And then we saw Brendan enter the space, making the beautiful work that Brendan does. And I think me and James both messaged each other going, Brendan's doing it. Oh, let's ask Brendan lots of questions, and it was seeing him just do great stuff. Signal noise is Gav drinking mustard. No, it's water, you nana. It's yellow cup. And so me and James had a chat with Brendan, and he imparted all of his wisdom onto us. And I think what we realised, and we were talking about this last night, weren't we, Serena, that I think what we discovered is we were applying the old world and the old rules of art and the old rules of money. So cryptocurrency and crypto art, we were trying to equate them exactly to what the comparative thing is in the real world. And that's where we were going wrong. And as soon as we sort of just went, no, ignore all of that, and this is new, and it is rebuilding something, and it's brand new, that was when it was like, oh, and that's really liberating.
Now
as
I get
artist. It was like this light bulb moment, and then the possibilities started opening up of, I can make a piece of art that moves. Of course you do that in a traditional gallery as a moving media piece, but the fact that it, by its very definition, the piece that someone buys is that moves, that the thing that they own, and it's digital. It's just kind of blowing our minds, and we're really new to it, but yeah, it's just very cool and very exciting and very new, and it's just I keep going to bed really late because I keep discovering techniques I've always wanted to try and always wanted to play around with, but never found home for them. I guess being a graphic designer and a director, you're always creating for a specific purpose, for a brief, for even if it's for your own brief, it has to fit within something. It's answering a question. I would always say a piece of design is, but art can just exist for the sake of existing, and for the reasons that only the creator knows, and that's really liberating. So I think that's it. It's the light bulb moment of understanding we know nothing, and that's great, and go with it, and the light bulb moment of this is incredibly freeing, and we can do whatever we want.
Wonderful. Well, what else? I think, what I wanted to ask you, since there might be people watching that still wonder, what are you guys talking about? If that was the one thing that, KnownOrigin as a platform, but also the crypto art community made you realize, and having that haha moment, what would that be if you were going to describe it in a nutshell? What's the advantage of being in the space as an artist?
Well, this worries me because this sounds like I'm going to need to fully understand what I'm talking about, and that's the thing. I don't fully understand.
You don't have to, right?
Oh, thank God. I don't know. I guess. I think it really is that nimble moment that you have to come to yourself. That, of course, the thought process everyone goes through is, well, it's digital. I can just save a JPEG on the internet. I can just download a PNG. Yes, you can. Of course you can. but then actually that the knowingness and sort of, I guess you have to understand blockchain technology. I think that's the key to all of this, to understand what that means, the decentralized nature of it, but the fact it's fully trackable, as in there is absolute definitive proof that that individual has that piece, you know. So like I was saying, my Genesis piece sold, which is incredibly exciting, but that's in the ledger, that's really cool. It doesn't actually just disappear off into the ether. It is kind of, it's actually quite permanent, which is again another kind of crazy weird thing for digital stuff, because nothing feels permanent, but this is. So exactly, it's all contradictions, right? And I think that's again what finds it fascinating.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That tension between something like more ephemeral and the fact that blockchain makes it more permanent. I think it's it's probably a good way of describing it. And you know, before we went on these live, you were telling me and David that you were so excited because today you sold one of your first pieces on KnownOrigin. So how did that make you feel? Because I think that in itself is quite an experience, right?
Yeah. I guess like every artist, you always worry about your own work, and you think, is it, you know, of course you make it for you, and you make it because you believe in it and you want it to be out in the world. But of course, you know, it is also lovely if someone else liked it and someone else likes it enough to keep it. It was just that. It was, I excitedly ran in and told my wife just when it sold, saying, oh, my Janet, I keep saying all of these words to her as well, like, oh, NFT, crypto, Genesis piece. And she's like, what are you talking about? I don't know. And she was really, really thrilled. So it's just that, and I guess it's the feeling that is present in any medium, whether it's crypto, whether it's traditional art, whether it's anything. When someone else likes what you do and supports you via a transaction, whether that's just a high five, a tweet saying I love your work, or handing over some cryptocurrency to own the original, that's just a lovely, lovely feeling. And I think that's what's nice. I guess, again, what I'm learning with crypto is actually the direct connection between artists and art collectors, people who want that, is totally direct and totally transparent and totally freeing. That's super cool. You know, just in the traditional art world, I've never been in the traditional art world. I love it. I'm fortunate enough to have a job in media and entertainment, but I'm not in the high art world. You know, like many people, it's a very exclusive place. But this just you know, levels the playing field really, and kind of just it doesn't care about you know, race or gender or anything. It's you as an artist making and putting it out into the world directly, and directly people can say, I love that, I would like to support that by having that piece. So
and I like the fact that everything often these days happens on social media, so that's kind of like a very direct way of connecting with people, and you don't really need to know their identity or finding out more, rather than I like this, I want to support it, and that's a way of doing it without revealing too much. So I don't know how that feels for you in terms of like having your own identity as a designer on your day job, and also navigating in this crypto space. But that's an interesting way of, I find that people have been finding their own audience, you know, which often through galleries you'll have to go with the moment in terms of what the taste is like, what people like, and understand that, and maybe even adapt. But in the crypto space, I don't want to say just crypto, but like generally into the more digital art space, you have the freedom of experimenting. Somebody earlier shared this comment, Sam. I'm just going to read it because I really like it. He says, I like the idea that these could be a place for experiments, micro artworks that wouldn't otherwise have a home, which I find it so true, you know. We have some questions for you, so I'm just gonna start asking them.
Yeah, I do. Right. I saw some great questions popping up.
Cool. So let's start with this one. You make some awesome tunes. Will you ever look into releasing full tracks as NFTs in the future?
Oh, that's a great idea. I mean, I would love to. Yeah. And so I've in the last few years really got into sort of music production, and just, again, it's just pure enjoyment. It's pure experimentation. There is no end goal. I don't want to be a musician. I'm a drummer, and I've drummed for the last 15 years or so. So I don't want to be. I guess I am a musician, but that's not the end goal. It's just I want to make this stuff and put it out there. And actually, and it was David that encouraged this, that my first two pieces are audio reactive with music that I made myself, and they're obviously they're small loops, so these things infinitely loop. But I've really enjoyed making music, and I do feel the same way, that I want to grow and I want to experiment. So Slane, that's an awesome question. I would love to, if there is a world for that, then I think that'd be super fun. And I do really enjoy combining the two together, the music and the visuals, because it's just really, really fun. But yeah, I mean, I've got this awesome thing that I love making music on called the OPZ, Teenage Engineering OPZ, this beautiful tiny little sequencer synthesizer. I take it everywhere I go with me, because it's really organic as well. It uses a lot of things called step components, where you can just you can build a basic beat, and then you can just trigger each step to create a random step, to create a random pitch, to create a random amount of time that the note's for. And all of a sudden you hit play, and this thing grows organically, and it doesn't sound like how you intended it to. It takes on a life of its own. And I think for me, that feels like what crypto is right for, that experimentation and that freedom, the organicness in a digital space. I think that's really intriguing to me. So yeah, that's a great question, Slane.
Wow, cool. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I love that little device that you have, portable.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Synthesizer, love that. And did you make art already that had your music, and have you minted that or not?
I've done experiments of audio visualizers, and they were kind of what prompted the basis for these. But no, they were never minted, and they were kind of low res tests and stuff. And also because I've worked in my career, like I say, for 20 years as a director and a designer, this kind of music stuff very much feels like it's not separate. I'm not intending it to be separate. But I don't know if people think of me that way, so maybe it buys kind of, it's not an interest to people, so it feels quite freeing in that way. It's great, but not that anyone would care what I do anyway, but it feels like it doesn't really matter. So it's been nice experimenting that, and now I feel like, no, this is a home. Crypto is the home for it, the audio stuff and the visual stuff together, because it feels like a good fit. So that's really, really exciting, really exciting. And I saw another a great idea by Slane, saying you can always pass the wallet details down to your kids later on down the line, and they can inherit the royalty fees. Saying that is such an amazing idea. That is, again, I'm so new to this, I wouldn't have even thought of that, but that is flipping fantastic. So if I could build a career, build a body of work that could then live on past me in a digital space, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I think these things do exist in the real world, in the more physical world, but we always thought of them as something not really accessible to all. At least that's my perception. You go into galleries or you work with artist estate, and all you know about is that families will inherit the rights, for example, of some work, or after X amount of years, the work will be royalty free. Whether here, in a sense, you can really pass on what you created, during your life, and you can make that meaningful for your kids or for your family or for anybody that you wish to include in your work.
That's cool,
inherit that,
really cool.
Or you could even say, my collection belongs to everybody, and so you could even do that, which is mind-blowing if you think about it, because it's slightly revolutionary in terms of what we are trained and educated to think in terms of, this is mine, I own this, you own that. Whether here, if you wanted, you could really create that kind of freedom in terms of what we share, what we own, what principles we live by. So I guess it's slightly more philosophical. That could be for another conversation.
No, that's good. That's really exciting. That's really exciting with what this whole space makes you think, makes you feel about. And there's a great quote there by Chris. I think the feeling that it can still go in all directions is the most exciting thing about the whole scene, in my honest opinion. Yeah, me too. It just, who kind of knows? But the fact 100%. That as a space, as a creative, it's here right now, ready to go. That's great. That's very, very cool. And
Yeah.
obviously the technology is just so impressive, and the future applications for what blockchain can do are amazing. And it also feels, and I'm sure this is how everyone feels, that you feel excited that you're in quite a new thing, you know, and it's not mass adopted, and obviously you want it there so the technology and everyone can share in the awesomeness, but at the same time that also gives you a feeling of fun, of like, oh, I'm kind of figuring it out early. That's just a lovely feeling, you know. It's a nice byproduct to being in space as well. It's great.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. I now want to definitely talk about your art, and I would love for you to share your screen and show us what you have been up to, because I know you had some recent drops into the platform, but you're also working onto some new projects. So I would love for you to share that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've just got what's playing, looping in the background here is my show reel, just to give people a bit of an idea for kind of what it is that I do on a day-to-day basis. So, like I say, I'm a director and a designer, and that takes all different forms, really. I design and create 2D, 3D, stop frame, motion graphics, combinations of all the above. With all sorts of different projects, and a lot of these are through Aardman, through projects that I do there. And yeah, I'm sort of intrigued and fascinated by so many different styles and mediums. I'm a bit of a magpie. I get really excited when you see something new or shiny or exciting. I can appreciate so many different styles, and I try to sort of have that myself. And yeah, just not. I guess I have things that I always rely on and pull back to, primarily hot pink. Always love hot pink. So I guess that's kind of a defining thing. Oh, not that. What do I want to show? There. And then this stuff here is more. I call it a sketchbook reel. My friend Darren Debicki made one of these, and it's just a great way to show stuff that's kind of not moving image. This is photography and illustration and 2D and 3D stuff, just a bit of a mad mix of everything that I like to do. And I think that's the thing. I really love all these different disciplines and technologies and techniques, and that is what my passion project in my JamFactory time lets me do. You know, lets me experiment with lots of different types of things, and I'm really enjoying it. And I guess then that brings us to this, which was my Genesis drop, which dropped last week, and it was encouragement from David at KnownOrigin, who was showing him a bunch of different ideas for what could be my Genesis drop. What could it be?
The entrance into the space.
Yeah, kind of.
It's a great pick.
Oh, thank you very much. And it's nicer because it is, if you had seen the work that I do before the crypto space, you might not necessarily know I do 3D. You might not necessarily know I do this kind of music production stuff as well. But yeah, you know, again, massive props to David for knowing that and kind of just encouraging that. No, I think this would be good, because it feels very much kind of art to me. You know, I'm the music, and so what you see here, that's all reacting to the audio that's underneath it. It's reacting to the kick and the snare. It's all rigid body physics pushing the pieces out of the way. And yeah, it was always I just really enjoyed piecing it together, really. And then it's all rendered out in 4K as well, again, so it's I'm hoping that all my pieces will be 16:9 in ratio and 4K in resolution as well. So it kind of all fits. And it was, again, some great advice from David about it fitting on a TV, which is lovely. You know, if you think about how people will collect this, it might just be in people's digital wallets, but also it might, you know, if someone can then display it on their TV, you know, there's those awesome Samsung frame screens, you know, that you can put beautiful imagery on. And, you know, if it can also look good displayed in someone's home or wherever, then that's great. You know, kind of, I guess maybe that's a graphic designer in me. I want it to be as useful in all of its different forms as possible. And that was another great shout from KnownOrigin to do that. So, And funny enough, I'm sorry, I'm just reading the questions here of Sam Meach.
Yeah.
Sam, that's
I was
really
gonna
question,
ask you that question because I think it's relevant when we're talking about digital and physical art. So Sam is asking, you've made physical collectibles before, such as toys, for example. How does your approach change when making non-physical collectibles? How do these collectors relate to that collection? Where is the shelf? So yeah, exactly that.
That is a really good point, and I guess that was always a bit of a, not a concern, but just a question I always had getting into the space, really, because I agree. You know, I love the computer's mounted here, but behind me there's a big shelf with all sorts of toys and creatures and collectibles and all sorts of things.
Oh wow, look at that. I didn't know that, for example.
There's loads of stuff here on the shelf. So yeah, as a sort of a toy collector myself, that is a bit of a strange question, but I guess that was what at least felt like a really nice idea from David of making it 16:9 4K. That okay, well at least it's in a native format and size that can be easily displayed if people wanted to. But I guess there's always compromise, isn't there? There's always going to be a compromise with what you're doing. Really.
And there's also a follow-up question here about format.
Oh yeah, Gavin just mentioned 4K.
Resolution, or is there a minimum res?
I mean, me personally, I wouldn't go underneath HD. I would always do 90/20 1080 at minimum, especially for future proofing. And I was tempted to start rendering out everything at 8K, but that piece wouldn't finish rendering. I've got a bit of a beast of a PC behind me, but that wouldn't finish rendering if I was deciding to render 8K. But I guess it's something to think to the future, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think as the technology will progress, I think, if you think about it, looking at these works, maybe in 5 years' time, who knows what kind of technology will be available then? Or even when quantum computing will be available, what would that allow us to do to create? I don't know. I always wonder.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think about thinking about this topic. I've participated in the exhibition of Nam June Paik, which was at the Tate last year, and something I remember well about that show was that most of the pieces did not work or couldn't work for quite some time because there were no pieces that could be found to repair it. And so sometimes technology, decay, and it is also the will of the artist that it is meant to be for a certain amount of years, or you will need to adapt or find a way for that piece of work to translate to keep existing. So I guess blockchain also allows that work to still live, as a token, but also find alternative ways for seeing it or experiencing it. I don't know. I don't think we have an answer, but it's interesting to see how artists have worked with technology in the past and how this is going. So who knows? I don't know. Do you have any?
I agree. Yeah, and I mean as well, I think it's also like a timestamp kind of. That if you there says 8K monster. The file. I might start crashing the file system if I start doing 8K. No, I think it's like a timestamp, because if you play a video game and it's 4:3, that is in the past. If you have an image that is a video that's I don't know 480 pixels wide, then that kind of is at its time, and the real charm in that, I think. So I think it's kind of, you obviously I want it to look nice and crisp and sharp, but yeah, it will stay sharp until we get to 12K TVs or whatever it is we progress to, or holographic displays, whatever it may be. So hopefully it looks good for as long as it can, and then it moves on. But then hopefully I'm still creating crypto in that. Hopefully the crypto space still exists in whatever form, and then you might look back at that piece and go, I think
it's great. Art evolves with us. It's like when you're listening to a great song from the 80s, I still love it, and it's still like, to me, as if the song came out yesterday, you know. So
yeah,
it is
exactly. And the
interesting to
imperfections
see.
as well, right? You know, the
Yeah,
imperfect.
absolutely.
Sorry
Yeah.
to talk over you. Like you say, that the crackle and the noise. And funny enough, when this piece came out of the render, I brought it into After Effects, and I've added, you know, grain back in, and kind of giving it a bit of texture and kind of giving it a bit of something on it, so it's not totally perfect. I think there's that as well. There's that, you know, trying to give it a bit of warmth and charm.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to, before I forget, I just wanted to say hello to Moby Pixel in the chat, who kindly says congrats on the first piece. Thank you, Moby Pixel. That is very, very kind. Someone else kindly said congrats as well. Where is it? Just I didn't want to miss anyone. Oh, Slane said that as well. Thank you, Slane. Thank you, everyone. It's really nice having people chat here as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I love that this is kind of an intimate way of connecting with the artist, learning about the art, talking about the space, and having this very welcoming community. So thank you, everyone. And feel free to chat with us, ask us questions. But yeah, I also want to look through your new pieces, because I know you've been working on some amazing art, and I would love for you to tell us more about it. So this is a new drop, right? Was that yesterday, today?
Today, it's live right now. So I dropped it about 5 minutes before we went live. So it's on the KnownOrigin site, which is really exciting. And so it sort of feels like it's in the same world. Fresh off the press. Yeah, it's newly minted. So it's also audio reactive. It's also using a beat that I made, a looping beat, big dirty scuzzy bassy beat, which is fun. And it's the same thing. It's rigid bodies reacting to the music, but what you don't see. So it's I try and keep, when I make music stuff, I put it out on my SoundCloud under the name of Project Toy, and then I created like a branding system for Project Toy, because it's always fun to brand your own projects. And so in the logo, I only use a circle, a triangle, and a capsule. And so when I thought about doing visualizers for the music for the crypto, I thought, oh, maybe I should. It's quite a cool constraint. Okay, only use capsules, capsule spheres or circles and triangles. And so I kind of carried it on the same way with this. And how that works is basically like the camera is looking down, and if you imagine you just had a tray of spheres and capsules that's just sitting there, just with physics, just sitting there, and then what happens every time it hears the bass kick, there's actually an invisible cylinder that's underneath all of this stuff. So say this is all of the bits. This cylinder just sort of kicks it up like this, and so it's sort of. That's why it's sort of
like a drum.
Basically, yeah. It's like a big kick drum. But obviously, thanks to the beauty of 3D, you can just make stuff invisible. And what's really nice about this, again, I don't know exactly how it's going to come out. I don't know where those triangles are going to land, or where those capsules are going to fall, sort of thing. So I really enjoyed this, and you can even see some of the imperfections here in that it pushed some of the triangles up so high they bounced out of the tray, the virtual tray, and then you can just see them falling away to infinity in the background. Very, very, very small. That's because the kick drum was so powerful it made them drop off. So so it's fun to do that. So that's my second drop that's out now, which is really fun.
I love the fact that every time because it's audio responsive, every time you get a different shape, so you're never looking at the same thing twice. And what made you choose the spheres and the capsules and these triangle, these three different shapes? I don't know, is there a reason for that? Because there's also a question around just following on this one, what do you pull your creative inspiration from? Do you have a muse? So maybe you can combine the two and get us an answer there.
That's a great question, Slane. Thank you for that. I think I'm sort of excited by so many different styles and techniques and looks that I often just use any excuse to try them. If I've seen something I like, or when you've seen something you like and you put that in your brain for a bit, and then you see something else you like, and it all just kind of bubbles away in your brain, and so it just kind of comes out really, especially with this sorts of things. I just like playing to see where I can get. I had the general idea to, okay, I really like using the rigid body physics stuff in cinematography because I like the not knowing how it's gonna look or feel or play. So I really sort of like that, and I'd really like to do some soft body dynamic stuff next, actually, to get the real sort of squidge, you know, real sort of organic shapes, because that's really fun to do. But in terms of just creative inspiration, it really is sort of everything and anything. It's so cliche to say. Maybe Pixel says JamFactory rhythm game when. That's a great idea. Maybe that should be a crypto piece as well. So it's really just
making the next one.
yeah, maybe that's what I should do next. But then if I sort of show you what I've got sort of what I've just been experimenting with for possibly a next series of crypto stuff, actually it's kind of totally different to all of that. It kind of actually just enjoying going really abstract, and kind of how I do this is I start in 3D and play with shapes and forms, and then do a lot of sort of pixelation work and dithering, and for the first time there was never a plan with it. It was just what can I do, and I just, you know, when you just see something, go, oh, that's fun, and then I really like the playing with it and using mirroring and these dithering effects, and then started, you know, playing with scale and size and all of that stuff. And you know, I would have never made this for a design piece, but I love it as a thing, and it actually gave me confidence as an artist to just go with what I feel like I enjoy, which is, you know, it is just very different to design and direction sometimes when it's for a purpose. You know, this is just experimentation and play, and I'm really enjoying it, and I don't know if it's going to resonate with people, but again, it's really liberating to feel like it doesn't matter, you know, just kind of create what you want to create. So between all these different bits, I'm enjoying the colors and playing and experimenting with that stuff. So hopefully that sort of style will be a future drop, I think.
Super. Yeah, what I like about this thing is that you went from like something more 1980s 1990s looking like vaporwave, but then when you stretch the pixels and you really get up close, you get a complete different feeling, right? And the texture of it feels like a tapestry. I don't know, it feels like I'm looking at a tapestry, and there's a blend of different colors, complete different atmosphere and feelings, but yet it's still part of the same piece. So and how did you get into that kind of style, because we had a brief chat last night and we were talking about the inspirations from probably when we were kids, you know, in the 80s, and and how did that sort of took you into a more pixel digital art piece? What was the reference to this work?
I think it's just the excitement of stuff that we grew up with. You know, I was born in 1982. Team Origin says, "Will these be 4K?" Hells yeah, they'll be 4K. To be honest, if these don't move, I can make these 8K. So we can just have all the resolutions. KnownOrigin. But again, you know, hopefully these would look good. These are square at the minute, because I was just early experimentations. These would all be wide, 16:9 widescreen. But in terms of this sort of style and stuff, I always loved sort of the Amiga Cracktros. I've got vivid memories of going to a friend's house and him having a pile of floppy disks that he'd got of all these different games, and of course they were all cracked. And every time you would put that disc in, you know, you would get the amazing kind of crazy looking Cracktro screens with all the information about who cracked the games. And I think that's just burned my brain. It's sort of also, this makes me think of sort of R-Type kind of, I'm sort of fascinated by these bullet hell games and sort of 80s, 90s side-scrolling shooters, and I think it's just reliving a bit of my childhood, the pixel stuff. You know, a lot of my day job work isn't pixels, but I still kind of love that look of the compression and the dithering and the colours. So this is a bit of a mishmash of the two worlds that I love, of sort of hyper colourful things and also sort of pixel work, and also kind of that vaporware, almost kind of. Obviously, vaporware can sometimes be so in your eyeballs. It burns. I kind of still want to make it beautiful. I kind of want to have like a beautiful vaporware Cracktro style, and yeah, and I think that's what got me really excited, because this felt like this is just an experimentation and something I'm very much enjoying and that will be dropping soon. And I probably wouldn't have allowed myself to do that previously, because it wouldn't have had an application. You know, no one's asking me. No one said, hey, I hear you're really into vaporware and Amiga Cracktros, a specific genre of illegal software from the 90s. So T Nod says this will be called retro by the next wave of digital artists. Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
So,
yeah.
So I'm really excited to drop these soon and sort of play and experiment. It feels like a whole. I'd like to make them move as well. I'd like to make them animate. So I'm just thinking about different ways.
I was going to ask if you were planning to leave them as still images and pixel art, or if you were going to create some movement there.
I think movement's nice. I think it's kind of just like taking advantage of the platform, really, I guess, isn't it? That of course every piece can move if you want it to. I mean, I'm not opposed to still images. I love still images, and I love, again, coming from the world of graphic design. And I guess that is an area that I'm sort of all keen to just know kind of what works best. You know, if generally it works best that pieces do animate, then great. I'm very happy to make them move. You know, so I'm also just intrigued as to kind of what has the best fit, really. You know, I kind of want to make stuff that's inherently me, but also I want it to thrive and fit into that world, really. But actually, funny enough, when someone was asking about the physical toys, one thing that I'm really intrigued by. So these are a series of characters called droplets that I originally, there were vinyl toys. I had a set of vinyl toys about 12 years ago, maybe more than that. Then had a second series of vinyl toys. Let me see if I've got one. Here we go. Like these physical vinyl toys that I made many moons ago. And I've always loved the characters, and I sort of ended up doing a big launch event with them in Bristol, and we had artists paint these things, and I've got a big 4 foot tall version of this at work. So this is 2.5 inches. I've got a 4 foot tall version, this beautiful big glossy sculpture that was a collaboration piece between myself and an artist friend called Hyatt. And I haven't done anything with them for a very long time, but actually, what you see here, this bottom row of from the ice cream guy to the little astronaut guy, I've always just done different versions, but they never were turned into toys. They never existed, just because the vinyl toy market got just very expensive and difficult to produce, sort of post-economic crash in 2008. And then actually, it was chatting to someone on the KnownOrigin Discord who I was chatting to about droplets, and she sort of says, "Oh, you should do them as a crypto piece, as sort of like crypto collectibles." And yeah, so I'm really, I don't know if I should, but I love the fact that, well, maybe they could have a home. You know, they've just existed on my hard drive. You know, I could make almost, again, I love the era of Garbage Pail Kids and collectible stickers, and, you know, kind of just those collectible things. You know, I'd love to take these character designs and to reformat them again, make these like beautiful 16:9 4K, like special, almost like how you would get collectible stickers when you're a kid. You know, they'd have all the little graphics all around them, and kind of make them like a collectible version. I'm really intrigued by that. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's right to mix styles. You know, they look very different to the stuff that I just showed with the vaporware Cracktro stuff and the 3D audio. Or maybe it's okay to be quite varied. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is, to be honest. That's my personal opinion. But I love when artists in this space have the freedom to really explore different genres and see, you know, what kind of response you get from the audience, and also, you know, to test things out. I suppose cards now are very popular. So collectibles, in terms of, I don't know if you remember, like ages ago, there used to be these packs of cards that you would open and find all different characters and collect them and exchange them with your your friends, and that could be something interesting maybe to test out. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Curious
It's just,
to see how these dynamics develop, now that we're all grown ups, and see how that works.
Oh, see, look, bless you, says, get those droplets out as crypto collectibles. So this is the thing, Slane. If you, I don't know, I hadn't even thought about it until some kind soul in the Discord mentioned it, and it was like, maybe, and I'd love to design like a proper phrase for all of them. So if you could collect them all, they were all, they're the same size and the shape, and they sit there and stuff, and kind of, basically do a crypto version of what I did, 12 years ago with physical vinyl, and see if that could be a fun thing to do in that space. Really, it's cool to it's cool to try.
Yeah, absolutely. You can create also a new series and see, how the two will meet in the crypto space. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. At this point, I was gonna ask you a question that I normally ask all the speakers in the Behind the Screens series. So the question is there any artist that you would like to collaborate with, and who is?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a really good question, and that's the thing that is also totally new to me in terms of, on the KnownOrigin site, that you can, properly label a collaborator, and I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, that's then written into the smart contract that person is the collaborator with that thing. That's cool. That's cool for that to be properly like written in code. That whole code law thing of, this piece is by that person and that person. So that in itself is very cool. I mean, it'd be awesome to collaborate with my brother James White, Signal Noise. We're long-term friends, and we do a lot of stuff together. We do this when you could go and give physical talks in the real world. We are speaking piece, and we've sort of spoken around the world together, because we're both speakers in our own right. But then we do this collaborative event called Hustlemania, and we did it in an awesome thing called Off in Barcelona, which is it used to be the official Flash Film Festival, but obviously Flash has long since died, and it's Off now represents just this big creative festival of 3,000 people all meeting together, sharing their stories. And we did this night called Hustlemania, where it was a joint talk for 2 hours, a 2-hour talk. And we had confetti cannons, we had special guests. It was kind of, we're also kind of showing our influences of wrestling and 80s and 90s culture and aesthetic culture, and we just built this ridiculous event that really we just want to entertain people. And I think this is the same with crypto. This is why James is in this space as well, following on from Brendan's lead of we love what we do, and if we can just make stuff that people enjoy, and fantastic, if we can be silly and entertain, even better. So it'd be great to collaborate with Signal Noise. Obviously what Brendan does with his awesome generative data driven work is beautiful. But yeah, I mean, that's such a cool sort of feature to test out as well, isn't it, of collaboration, to sort of just see. Oh, and I've seen that KnownOrigin has posted some links to our Hustlemania event that we did. So yeah, it was bonkers. So yeah, maybe nice to do those, online collaborations with people that offline as well, but also total strangers that you've never met. And there's awesome people in the crypto team. My Twitter's never been so active. It's great.
Could be a really great way of getting people that are not into the space actually to be involved and get a taste of what it is like, to have that sort of freedom for you to create your art and meet your audience, in the virtual world. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But yes, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. I know we've talked for nearly an hour, and the time just went. Yeah, but I'm so excited for you to be in this space, and thank you everyone for asking so many interesting questions and following this talk. So make sure to follow Gavin a few upcoming drops on KnownOrigin, and I'm sure that we will see great art on your profile. And yeah, definitely let's keep in touch and keep asking questions through social media. We'll be here, happy to answer. And yeah, I can't wait to see the new artworks that you're preparing for us.
No, thanks so much. Yeah, you know, it's been a pleasure again. You know, massive thanks to you, Surya, for making me feel welcome here, and huge thanks to David. David at KnownOrigin, bless him, has basically just to explain everything to me and James over and over again. Hopefully he doesn't mind, but we bombard him with questions all the time, but we're getting there. You know, we get there. Before we loaded off Genesis piece, it was just right? It was just what does this mean? Both me and James went to upload our first piece, really excited, and then of course I'm sure everyone does it. We went, what's a gas price? What the hell does that mean? What? Yeah. I don't understand.
Every time I mention gas, people are like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
You mean petrol?
But it's one of those things you've got to try, isn't it? You've got to try. You've just got to do it more, learn, get better. So you know, I want to grow and be better and be less of a pain in the arse for David. That's my hope. That's my hope as a crypto artist, to not be pain in the bum for David and team KnownOrigin.
But I guess, you know, that's what we're here for, and that's our job, to be talking about what we do and tell others that this is not rocket science. No, anybody can do it, and I think it's one of the most welcoming space, which also, in a way, the fact that we've been in lockdown for so long, it allowed us to stay close to each other and to support one another. So, you know, it's all about communicating and pass on the word to others and invite others to join. So it's a great community. And yes, I hope that people that are new into crypto today, they've learned something about it and maybe they can try it out for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Come join us. Come join us. It's nice seeing everyone in the chat as well. Joni is here, Sam is here, Moby is here. It's nice seeing new and familiar faces. So big ups to them. Come join us in this mad scene. It's awesome.
It's been great talking to you. Well, thanks again and have a nice evening. And thank you, David, for the intro. That was super good. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight with us. Keep asking questions. We're here to chat and learn some more. Enjoy the art. Enjoy your evening. Take care. Bye. Have fun. See ya. Bye.